So as you're setting up your four-wheel drive for long road trips, it's really hard to know which mods you should actually do. So in this video, we're going to talk about 5 mods I wish I did to my four-wheel drive sooner. We're going to be focusing on saving you some money, trying to fix one of the most annoying problems about touring with a tub, protecting your four-wheel drive, and also making your car safer.
And some of these upgrades are essential for the next episode. We're heading off on a trip to Australia's most underrated four-wheel drive destination.
And so this very first mod in this massive box is going to save you a ton of money in the long run on long road trips. Because in the last 2 years, I've probably done enough Ks to drive around Australia 2 or 3 times. I would have saved a ton of money filling up at those little petrol stations in between big stops if I had one of these things.
So I actually ordered the tank off eBay because they had the brand that I wanted. It's the most reputable in Australia, and it got delivered straight to my door, and that is Brown Davis.
145 litres. I think the one that I have in there now is 75 litres. Pretty much doubled my capacity, which means I'm going to be able to skip so many fuel stations and kind of dodge those real expensive prices and even go on some more adventures like the one I'm going to go on next week that I probably wouldn't have been able to do without carrying like 5-6 jerry cans in the back. I mentioned it's made of aluminium. And this is also my first time installing one of these, so best believe I'm reading every single page of these instructions before I even think about doing anything. I'm also pretty excited to see how hard of a task this is going to be to do in a driveway, because I've never done one before. But reading through the instructions, it does seem pretty straightforward. There's a few time-consuming steps. The first one, you just got to take off the inner guard so you can get to the back of the quick fill and unplug all those hoses. All right, inner guard. Now off. Oh, that's a bit dusty. And this is what I needed access to. So this is obviously the quick fill, and then there's a breather, which is this one here. And then this is the latch for the fuel fill point. So I'll just unclip that one from this cable tie, and then we can start dropping the tank. So now the next step is we have to undo bolt number 1, bolt number 2, only partially, just so the tank drops a little bit, then I have to reach up behind there and pull off all the fuel lines that go to the engine. And these are the fuel lines that you have to disconnect before you drop the tank, or you're going to break it. So now I've got the jack sitting here, 2 planks of wood, and it's just holding the weight of the fuel tank, and then I'll be able to drop those bolts out the rest of the way. That way it's not going to fall, and then I can just lower it down gently. So this little brace here is meant to be completely flat, but mine has taken a bit of damage from some rocks. Alright, so the first major part is done. Original tank out, and this thing is pretty dusty, so I'm going to give it a bit of a clean, because I do still need to take some of the stuff off here, and I do not want to contaminate the new tank. So I gave it a quick little scrub, and now you can see the size difference. This one just makes way more use of kind of using weird shapes, so you get that added capacity. And now I have to take all of the hardware and the hoses off here and install it onto the new one. First step here is
Gently tap this section, it will start to spin off slowly. It is really hard, so it does take quite a bit of pressure, but do not snap the plastic fins.
So let's pull the sender out gently. To quickly just bend this arm to be sitting flush. And then now peel this plastic. It's looking good. O-ring over. Okay, now I'll go around and tighten them all. So now all the hoses are on. The sender's fully done, and now it's time to go back in the car. So I fast forwarded to the next morning, and I've skipped a few steps because it was a bit tricky to do by myself. All I had to do was put a little bit of diesel in the tank, use whatever fuel your car uses, and wash it around just to make sure there is nothing in the tank that shouldn't be in there. Now I'm pretty much at the point where we are chucking it back in the car. I'm thinking I'm going to use a strap on the back end, which will go over the rear cross member, and then at the front end, once that back end's lifted up, we'll probably get the jack onto it with some blocks of wood so we don't scratch the nice black paint.
So it's about 15 minutes, but it's almost in the right spot. So you'll be careful of your fuel lines up here.
So it took about 20 minutes to get that in there. Not too hard, especially with the jack and the step. Now I'm gonna have to do a little bit of cutting to the mounting brackets for the side step. Just the bolts are way too long, and there's about this much hanging over. So I'm just gonna trim them off, and then it will go in there easy as. It took a bit of doing. Now I just need to connect the fuel lines back to the fill point. Should you do it in your driveway at home? If you wanna save some money and you have a weekend to spare, absolutely. But now on to the next mod. So all the parts I'm going to be installing in this video were purchased on eBay. They have a massive range of accessories and parts from all the brands that you know and love. So next time you're looking to upgrade or you just need some spares for your car, make sure you check out eBay because they're helping make videos like these possible. And the second thing I regret not doing sooner is one for you tub owners out there. I don't know why I delayed this one so much because it is an absolute nightmare. And it is getting one of these tub seal kits. It's gonna help keep dust and water out on those deep river crossings. This is how much dust has congregated after only about 2 months living on the road. So if that's just there, imagine what goes throughout the whole tub. I've not actually used one of these before, but from all accounts, they do really work. So I'm keen to get it installed and I'll definitely be giving it a test on that next trip. Doesn't seem too complicated to install. It's just a few different rubber seals that you place around the tailgate. We've actually had a few different instances where water has come up in the tub. So hopefully this will stop with that as well.
So the adhesive sticks along here and along here. I'm gonna give it all a good wash down to make sure it sticks properly.
So the first bits that we have to do are the two hinge sections, which are just little bits of foam like this, and they just stick on over the hinges. And then the next part is chucking this big seal, which goes on this ridge, just there and down the whole length of the tailgate. Alrighty, that's pressed down. Now onto the next step. So the next one goes along this edge, and I might have to do a little bit of trimming because this part on mine is different for some reason. My car has a lot of weird parts on this that aren't normally factory. Make sure you give it a good press down when you install it. And then just repeat the same on the other side. And the last one goes along here and then butts up against this pinch weld on the tub. I wish I committed and just did that one early because it's pretty quick install. And now my tailgate is nice and sealed. You can see the seal's pressed on both sides and you can feel it underneath here. So I should no longer have to dust my setup every single time that I drive on a gravel road for 10 minutes. All right, so the third thing that I wish I did sooner is doing internal protection. And so that's your things like your seat covers, good floor mats, even your transmission covers and your dash mat. And I do already have some seat covers, but these ones are only like partial protection. They don't cover the whole seat. I've already ripped a pretty big hole in them from getting in and out so much. And luckily I had the seat covers because if not, I'm assuming that would be my actual seat that's ripped. And to upgrade those ones that we just took off, we have a new set from eBay. They are these synthetic leather type ones that have full coverage. Kind of feels like leather crossed with neoprene. So the main reason I went with these ones is because they actually kind of look like the top of the range seats you get when you buy a top of the range car. But really, most importantly, they have the full coverage. So the seats are going to be completely protected from the sun, from the salt water, and they do have a little bit extra padding, which I think makes these hard, firmish seats a little bit more comfy. So yeah, when you're planning on doing your bigger, long trips, or even just those weekend trips, you should really try and protect your investment in your car and buying stuff like good seat covers, transmission covers, or really good floor mats like the ones that have the arches that go up towards the transmission tunnel. Final step, putting a little headrest on. Padding on these is actually really good. It kind of wraps into a bucket seat a little bit more than what it does without them. It does make my car feel a little bit more premium. Now on to the next mod. So the next mod that I wish I did sooner, it is way too late for me to do now, so I'm not even gonna bother, but that is physical paint protection. And I'm not talking about a spray or any of those types of paint protections. I mean like physical PPF wrap type paint protection. That's a sacrificial component that you can wrap around your car. That's gonna get scratched instead of your paint. Because as you can see, in the 3 years I've had this car, my paint has been abused by bushes, other cars, everything. I need to give this a little trim to fit with the winch. So the before, after, glossy. And so the 5th and final upgrade I wish I did sooner is upgrading my driving lighting, and not for the reasons you probably think. I didn't really want them to be able to drive on highways or do long distance at nighttime. It's mostly for when you rock up to camp because you've been at a really cool lookout watching sunset, or you've spent too long fishing and you want to be able to see the wildlife or even spot your camp from a bit further away. Because I never really drive on those main roads at night, I've gone for something a bit more sleek, a bit more subtle, that I think will look really good on my car, which are these Steady Quad Pros, and the unboxing is pretty crazy. It's like getting a phone. And they're these more rectangular sort of spotlight, which I think is going to look mean on the front of my car. And if I'm going to be completely honest, these high beams are actually really good on the road when it's nice and straight. Like they do light up the center of the road really well, but off the edges of the road where your wildlife or other hazards might be, they're not that great, and that's where I think these are really going to excel. And you have to also give them a couple points for looking wicked. Really cool thing with these lights, this little orange section branding you can swap out for a black one, which I'm definitely going to do because I love a blacked out look. How much better? That looks so good. And I've also got the little orange tabs on the side, which you can swap out for the black ones. But I think a little bit of orange isn't too bad. But really the main catalyst for me upgrading my lighting finally is me and a mate from the YouTube channel Jake and Lil had to do about an hour drive at like 8:30, 9 at night, and he had a good set of spotties on the car, and I didn't really feel unsafe driving at night with such a good lighting setup. And one recommendation when you're looking for a brand to buy, look for ones that ship with a piggyback harness, or if the brand sells a piggyback harness, because it just means you don't have to cut any wires to get into your high beam circuit, because you have to do that for it to be legal. To give you an idea of how easy it is to upgrade your lighting at home by yourself, I'm going to do a mini tutorial in this longer video of how to do it. The wiring does look like a little bit of a bird's nest, but it is really easy once you know. This really long skinny one goes into the cabin, and that has a rocker switch to turn them on and off. This is for your piggyback harness that goes into the back of your headlights. The fused one is that goes to your battery terminals, and then these two to each spotlight. Really easy. So that took me about 10 minutes to do all the wiring to the spotties, and then pulling them all up through into the engine bay. And now you can see all we're left with. Battery terminal, thing for the piggyback adapter to go into, and then run this one through into the cab. But I'm just gonna spend a couple minutes cable tying it all and bolting on the relay, probably where this other relay here is attached. And then that's pretty much it done. And then here's the piggyback adapter. So it just goes, and that little plug there, you can see that the camera's focused on, is where the piggyback adapter will go on. All right, first ever little test, take the covers off. And now all we do is hope that I have not messed anything up. The lights on. High beams. Yep. I've got the switch for the spotties ran into the cab now, and I'm actually going to swap out the factory switch to a Switch Boss one, which I've grabbed off eBay along with everything else that you've seen in this video. And this one is the factory style, which will go right here. It's nice and easy to access. So I've got the switch wired up. The only thing I haven't wired up is the accessory light, which lights this up. So I just need to figure out where I'm wiring that into, and if I press it, that's unpressed, that's pressed, and you can see they are working perfect. So we have got the switch tucked away, and now you can see it's lit up, and then you hit it and it comes on. And now that I've taken it out for a little test drive, you can see how good they are. They really do spread up nicely on the road. And this has been 5 things I wish I did to my 4-wheel drive sooner. And don't forget, if you need to do any mods to your car, check out eBay and get subscribed.